Across 3 centuries of maps, one name keeps appearing over and over and over. Tartaria. Across the internet, a movement has been gaining serious traction over the last few years. A movement that believed there once existed an advanced global civilization known as Tartaria, a highly advanced empire that was wiped from memory in the 19th century. Could this finally be the missing link to uncover the mystery of humans themselves? So today, we're going to do a deep dive, the claims, the evidence, and the naysayers. But first, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell to get notifications whenever we drop new videos on Sundays, and without further ado, let's jump into uncovering a new world. So what is Tartaria? Several maps from the Middle Ages clearly show all of Asia and other parts marked as Tartaria. These maps are basically a one-to-one comparison with modern-day maps, so it's not like they're just making up new territories. Some of the evidence that people point to in order to justify this claim is the architecture itself in America and all over the world. Colossal train stations, post offices, and courthouses look as though they sprang up fully formed in newly established cities, especially in America. They rightfully ask, how could a town with a few thousand people produce marble palaces with intricate domes, spirals, and expert craftsmanship? How could supposedly temporary settlements build like the buildings of Rome itself, and let alone afford it? They argue the amount of horse and carriage it would take and the amount of water the horses would need in order to just deliver the marble itself is impossible. So what is the answer? They argue simply they didn't do it. These were Tartarian structures that were already here, that we just took over from a lost empire, simply rebranded as new by colonial and industrial powers. Some of these intricate buildings filled with marble and domes, literally like the buildings of Rome. When you look back at how long it took to build these buildings, 2 years. In 2025, it takes you 2 years to build a house. And these buildings stand the test of time and more intricate than any modern building that is being done today. Take the early World's Fair as Exhibit A, the 1893 Chicago Columbian Expo, a white city of domes, colonnades, and temples spanning 600 acres. The 1900 Paris Expose, entire palaces of art, industry, and electricity, and the 1915 San Francisco Panama Pacific Expo. Massive, beautiful complexes as well. And all of these, they completely demolish and disappear soon after. The mainstream claim is that these structures were built with plaster, mixed with fiber put over wooden frames, basically like a movie set. Another claim about this advanced ancient civilization is that it had free energy. According to believers of this theory, the architecture of the domes, the minarets, and the entire city itself was built with the purpose of free energy in mind, claiming that they harvest the actual energy of the atmosphere, atmospheric energy, transmitting it wirelessly, long before the experiments of Nikola Tesla. The story goes something like this. Tartaria mastered free limitless energy. Buildings were a part of a global grid, domes as capacitors, spires as receivers. Public buildings doubled as power stations, fueling lighting, transport, even heating. When Tesla rediscovered this principle in the late 19th century, it was also suppressed for this same reason. Industrial corporations have no interest in free power. and never will. So you're probably thinking, how could there have been a whole empire and civilization without anybody knowing? Where did the people go? Arguers believe that in the 18th or 19th century, a global cataclysm, sometimes described as mud floods. Floods of mud, sometimes as seismic liquefaction, swept across the world and buried entire cities up to their second or third floors. The evidence, they say, is hiding in plain sight. Photographs of buildings with windows half buried below ground level. Streets that appear to have been raised, leaving former first floors underground. Doors and stairways that seem to lead to nowhere, submerged beneath layers of soil. According to this narrative, what mainstream history calls basements are actually the true ground floors of Tartarian cities. For example, in America, some of these lavish banks and government buildings have extraordinarily large basements seeming to have no purpose whatsoever. The final piece of the Tartarian puzzle is the erasure of its existence altogether. Why does the word Tartaria appear on all maps for centuries, only to vanish in the 19th century? Why did historians stop using this name, even though it once spanned all of northern Asia? The answer, of course, is deliberate destruction. As British, Russia, China, and America carved up the world in the 1800s, they had motive to absorb Tartarian lands and claim their legacies as their own. From this perspective, history wasn't just rewritten, it was fabricated altogether to hide the existence of the greatest empire in human history. So what is Tartaria really? To historians, the term Tartar or Tartarian was a broad geographic label for the vast Eurasian land. They'd argue it never described a single empire, instead just an umbrella term used from the Middle Ages through the 19th century. The region included heirs to Genghis Khan's empire, the Manchu, who conquered China, and dozens of nomadic and semi-nomadic peoples across Siberia and Central Asia. To Europeans unfamiliar with this distinction, they were all Tartars, and their lands were Tartary. By the 18th and 19th century, these lands were absorbed into larger empires. As maps became more precise, the old blanket term Tartary was replaced by specific names: Siberia, Mongolia, Turkestan, Manchuria, etc. In other words, Tartaria wasn't erased by a conspiracy. It simply was a placeholder name that outlived its use. So why does the myth of Tartaria still exist today? 3 reasons. The visual evidence. The photos of half-buried doors and empty streets are striking. Extravagant buildings made of marble, completely empty, even if explained by regrading or camera exposure times. Number 2, the architecture itself. Buildings of the 19th century seem out of place in our modern cities. And with the timelines that they say they built them in, it seems physically impossible with the resources that they had at the time, making it super easy to imagine that we just stumbled across these buildings and took them over. And number 3, the psychology of loss. We full well know that we have been lied to about history in the past, making conspiracies easy to thrive. And the Tartaria conspiracy offers a narrative that explains some of this history that we know that they are hiding from us. So, was Tartaria real? An advanced, futuristic society with free energy that was reset by a cataclysm? Or the historical Tartary, just a placeholder term for unknown lands? I will have to say, some of these buildings across the whole world that resemble each other, they're built in the same fashion, they're all connected to each other. It really makes you wonder, are we really being told the full truth of our history? But I want to know what you guys think, so let me know in the comments down below. Is Tartaria real, or is it just another ridiculous conspiracy? Let me know in the comments below. Like the video if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel because we got a lot more videos like this coming your way. If you made it this far in the video, I thank you so much. I appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.